Hey everybody, welcome back to Movieverse. My name is Brian. Today, Greg is joining me on another episode of Movieverse Movie News. This will be our 12th episode of the Movie News show. And Greg, what do we have going on today in news?
The big news topic is D23.
Yeah.
Disney's conference in Anaheim, California.
Happens every 2 years.
Yeah. They basically run down everything Disney has in production.
Yeah, animated, live action movies,
Star Wars, Marvel.
Yeah, they do some. They made some announcements for theme parks this year.
Yeah,
which we'll kind of mention that, but we're mainly going to cover the live action stuff that they had yesterday. But before we get into our news topics today, guys, I just want to let everybody know that we are 15 subscribers away from hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a big stepping stone for us. And I know I've told you guys before that once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will do a live stream on the channel. We've done one before for 500 subscribers, and we played Cards Against Humanity. Well, this time around we're going to be playing Super Fight, which if you guys haven't seen anybody play Super Fight, or you don't know what it is, go search on YouTube and search for Super Fight to see what it is. But we will be playing that live for you guys probably next Sunday. Time will probably be in the afternoon for Eastern Standard Time, so maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you guys follow us on Twitter at Movieverse with the number 2, I will be able to keep you guys more informed as the week goes on and as our planning progresses for this next week's show. If we do the live stream on Sunday, we will not have a movie news show, but we can cover some of the movie news in that live stream while we're playing Super Fight. Why not? It'd be fun. So if you guys show up, we'll be able to interact with you, answer any questions you guys have, and just hang out and have fun with us. And yeah, I think it'll be a good time. Yeah.
Super Fight.
All right, well, I guess that's all the announcements that I wanted to make. But yeah, make sure you guys are following us on Twitter so you guys can keep up with all of the stuff that we're doing, including the exact time for which we'll be doing that live stream. I might be able to make a short video later in the week to also update you guys. But yeah, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Movieverse with the number 2. Also, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, so we get up to 1,000 subscribers and you guys can join us on the live stream as well. And always send in your questions to movieverseonline@gmail.com, and we will answer them on this show. And with all that being said, Greg, I think we are getting into our first topic of the day. And before D23 even happened, Star Wars was already giving us some little breadcrumbs of stuff to read and kind of get interested in. And they had an EW article that came out where they had a Rogue One picture of some of the cast, which is the first official image of the movie.
Had the full cast shown, but no information was given regarding their character titles.
Yeah, and they actually announced some new people that are going to be joining. I know one of which is Mads Mikkelsen from NBC's Hannibal, and there's another one as well. I don't really see him on this list, but the cast runs down as Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, Ben Mendelsohn, Forrest Whitaker, Mads Mikkelsen, like I said, Donnie Yen, Jang Win, Riz Ahmed. If I'm messing up these names, I apologize. And Alan Tudyk. So who will be doing it? And Alan Tudyk will be doing a motion capture character. So what stands out to you about this article that we got regarding Rogue One? And we don't have it on here, but also in that EW or the Entertainment Weekly, they had some pictures of Star Wars characters like Kylo Ren and some other pictures. So what do you think about all that stuff?
Yeah, and that's the other thing about Rogue One. They did mention that it's going to be down and dirty, gritty war film.
Yeah,
it's not going to be these kind of fantastical space opera battles like we see in the episodic ones.
Yeah,
basically. Also, you look at the pedigree of the directors, producers, the effects are their lineage is war movies.
Yeah, and if you look at that official image that they released from Rogue One, you can tell the tone that they're going for. It's it's all very dark colors, and
it's these people have seen some stuff.
Yeah, it looks like they've seen some action, and But what really stood out to me about this, well, I guess this was basically put out at D23, but before D23, they had an article that covered Star Wars where J.J. Abrams was kind of giving some more details about The Force Awakens, and also they released some pictures. And one of the things that J.J. Abrams said about Kylo Ren is that is not the name that he was born with.
Yes.
He was born with another name, and he became a part of what they are calling the Knights of Ren. And so Kylo is a name that he gave himself, and so he
or it
became,
might be like a title.
Yeah. So he became Kylo Ren, but it's not his birth name. And what do you have to say about that?
As I'm kind of regurgitating what a lot of other people say, like, he's either a Skywalker or Solo. Like,
well, he could be both. He could be of Skywalker lineage, but also a Solo.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but more specifically, like, it's either Han Solo's son or Luke Skywalker's son.
Yeah, there have been rumors flying around Kylo Ren for the longest time, ever since
they announced
that character. They're just like, oh, well, who is this guy? Because everybody wants to know. And the fact that J.J. Abrams has come out and said Kylo Ren is not his birth name, now people are just like, oh, man, he has to be.
And also, they haven't mentioned Daisy Ridley's character's last name either. She just has a first name.
Yeah. And also, well, so does Finn. Finn only has a first name as well. And there's more on Finn.
And also, dude, J.J. Abrams said that was deliberate to not tell you their names.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if those names weren't even their real names. Like, they were just, like, placeholder names until the movie comes out. I don't think they're going that secretive,
because you've not heard any dialogue
Yeah.
referencing those characters.
Well, if we want to talk about these names real quick, J.J. Abrams has a history of kind of throwing people around. Like, for instance, Benedict Cumberbatch in Star Trek
Into Darkness,
yeah. He ended up being Khan, but they used a different name for him, but like in the trailers and even in the movie for a while before they finally said, yeah, he is Khan.
Yeah. And also, like, in that same article, we mentioned that Captain Phasma is basically named after one of, like, the prop makers he's worked with for years.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't mind the name Captain Phasma.
Well, yeah, but I was going to say, like, so there is a case of he could just be making stuff up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance that he's just making stuff up as he goes. No. But, yeah, so if you guys haven't seen the pictures that were posted in that article with the J.J. Abrams interview, I will make sure that link is down below so you guys can check out all those pictures. It gives a really great look at Kylo Ren in the snow with his, lightsaber with the hilt on it. It looks super awesome. There's another picture of Kylo Ren kind of walking with stormtroopers. So he looks like he will be part of... apparently there's going to be like different factions of the First Order. And it looks like Kylo Ren will definitely be in charge of one of those factions. Maybe Captain Phasma's in charge of another one. We had another picture with General Hux, which is one that was seen at Comic-Con that got leaked. And there was a couple other pictures, but I'll put that link down below so you guys can check those pictures out. But let us know in the comments what you guys think about those pictures. If you guys have any crazy fan theories or maybe some really valid fan theories, put them in the comments because I'm interested to hear them, because I don't know that much about the Star Wars extended universe. Some of the stuff that isn't canon anymore, but they could have taken stuff out of that and put it and made it canon.
Just because it's not canon doesn't mean it won't become canon again.
Exactly. So if you guys have like read any of those books or have any theories on who you think Kylo Ren is or any of those other characters, put that down in the comment section because I'm really interested to hear about that. But moving on, The Force Awakens had a panel at at D23.
Well, they did have a panel.
Well, they did have a Comic-Con panel, but
D23.
Saturday they had a D23 panel, and it was kind of, I guess it was kind of short. They didn't really give us that much new information, but what they did tell us was the director for Episode 9, Star Wars Episode 9, will be Colin Trevorrow, who was the director of Jurassic World. What are your thoughts on Colin Trevorrow being the director of Star Wars Episode 9? Because, Jurassic World, it did make a lot of money, but people would argue that it wasn't the best movie of the year for sure.
Well, yeah, but again, like, he showed that he can take someone else's material, and turn it into an enjoyable experience,
an already established universe.
Yeah, like, I mean, basically, like, because again, you look at Star Wars in general, they're not necessarily the most like groundbreaking plot movies. Yeah. So like, as long as you have a coherent story beginning to end, that has some fun, has some action. Colin showed he can do that.
Yeah, I think what is good to keep in mind on this topic is the fact that just like Marvel is like a subset of Disney, and so is Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm is now a subset of Disney, and Marvel has its own brain trust when they create stories. So I think Lucasfilm has its own brain trust when it creates stories. So I think that when you have a team like that who cares so much about the properties, like Marvel obviously cares about their property, Lucasfilm obviously cares about their property, they're going to do everything they can to make a great movie. Yeah. And I think that Colin Trevorrow is just one person and a part of a huge team of people who are trying to create a great Star Wars movie.
But he shows that he did kind of the opposite of what happened to Josh Trank. Like, he can play well in another person's sandbox.
Yeah. Moving on, Harrison Ford made an appearance at D23, so that's cool. And they announced that Star Wars will be getting its own like
themed land.
Yeah, themed land. So, like, I guess in like Hollywood Studios, maybe.
Well, it's separate from that. Like, it's a whole brand new park.
Gotcha. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. They called it a land.
Yeah, it's at Disney World and Disneyland. They said at Disneyland it's going to be adding 14 acres.
It's like 14 or 16 acres.
Yeah, which is like the biggest expansion to Disneyland in the history of Disneyland. But they didn't say exactly how big the expansion was going to be for Disney World. So that's going to be super interesting to see what they do. And I haven't been. I went to Disney World when I was in high school because I was in a marching band. We marched in a parade down there. But I actually hadn't been to Disney World like to go and like enjoy it since I was a kid, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. But now they have Star Wars theme park. Like, I'm obviously going to go back and go see that for sure. But so that was super interesting that they announced that. But the big thing that we saw from Star Wars coming out of D23 was the fact that they released a official poster for the Star Wars movie, and it has John Boyega holding a lightsaber. That's super interesting to me because that confirms that he is force sensitive.
Yeah. We've kind of, a lot of people have thought.
Yeah, but I mean, it just confirms it for us. And also, another interesting thing that came out of that poster, which I might be reading into it too much, but half the poster represented the light side of the Force, half the poster represented the dark side of the Force, and then Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, was smack dead in the middle. Yeah. Now, am I reading into that too much, or is that supposed to imply that she's a character that is going to be...
She can go either way. I mean, she's learning, like... I have a feeling probably she's learning about her powers. Yeah. And then basically we'll have to make the decision about, which side does she fall on.
And she's also holding that staff that we keep seeing that staff in everything that she is in. We're seeing her run with the staff. We're seeing her hold the staff, and behind the scenes pictures, she's like has a staff like right up next to her in the poster. Yeah. What is that staff? I mean, it has to be something big. Like
it's probably some Force artifact. Probably
it wouldn't be nothing, and they would what I mean. They wouldn't be putting it into everything that you see of her if it had no meaning whatsoever. And then you see Harrison Ford on that poster. So you see Daisy Ridley's character, John Boyega. You see Adam Driver's Kylo Ren. And then you also see Harrison Ford on that poster. And to me, that tells me who the main characters of this movie are going to be. So obviously you're going to have supporting characters. And I've heard a rumor that we won't see Luke Skywalker until the end of the movie, like the last 15 minutes or so. So that'll be interesting to see how... like if he comes across John Boyega's character or Daisy Ridley's character and be like, hey, let me take you under my wing type of thing and teach you the ways of the Force, kind of like
old Ben.
Yeah, old Ben did for Luke in episode 4. So all that stuff that came out of D23 from The Force Awakens and Rogue One was super interesting. It was great to hear stuff about. What are your thoughts on this poster? First off,
I mean, the poster, it looks awesome. Like, it is kind of interesting that Harrison Ford is the only previous character that is on that poster. Yeah,
that's why I think he's going to have the biggest role. And I've actually heard a rumor that he is the main character in the movie.
It does kind of probably seem like it does. The film will revolve around the Solo family.
Yeah, and I have to say again, I just think it's super interesting that half the poster is light side of the Force and half the poster is the dark side of the Force, and Daisy Ridley's character is right dead in the middle. Like, it just, to me, that screams to me that she will be struggling with what side she is going to take.
Yeah.
Because one thing that they've said is that, just because they're on the dark side of the Force doesn't mean that they think that they're evil. Everybody in this story thinks that they're the heroes of their own story. Yeah. So they think that they're right in what they are doing. So it's interesting to see what kind of recruitment will be going on in this movie.
That's the only thing, like, and they kind of said, like, just because you are on the dark side of the Force does not make you evil. It just means that you're using your power for personal gain.
Yeah.
Not versus, like, the light side, it's for the betterment of the society.
Yeah.
Like, betterment of, all life.
All right, now moving on with some more Star Wars news. Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, had some comments about the Han Solo movie that will be the second anthology coming out after Episode 8. So her quote reads, "There's got to be a good reason for the standalone film to happen. And obviously the thing that Star Wars has always done so well is it doesn't spend a lot of time explaining the stories that have come before. We don't want to do that either. We want to spend the time going back and answering a lot of questions that quite frankly, or we don't want to go back and spend a lot of time answering questions that quite frankly I don't think people want answered. I think the key here is that we are identifying an event or events in Han Solo's life that gives you some idea of who he is and why he is the character that we've all known to love. You can imagine, given who we've chosen to come in and direct, it should be very entertaining and funny. Han Solo is a character inside Star Wars that everybody knows has a wit and sense of humor, so that's what this should be." I love this quote here because she basically addresses the fact that a lot of people don't want to see a Han Solo origin story per se.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you don't want to take the shroud of secrecy away from a character that I think needs secrecy to kind of be the character that we know them to be.
Kind of like everybody all the talk about the Boba Fett movie.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have a movie about Boba Fett where he takes off his helmet and he's, having a family or whatever. Yeah. Like, you want to see him out doing what Boba Fett does best.
Yeah.
Which is what I want to see from Han Solo. I want to see him smuggling stuff in and out of a system or whatever. I want to see adventures that he's on, but I don't want to see how,
Like I said, what I would want to see is basically how he got involved with Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
like that. I feel like that, kind of, if you believe, if you still hold on to the previous, canon.
Yeah.
He used to be an Imperial officer that, because of what he did to rescue Chewie, like, he basically had to go and run and hide.
Yeah.
And then become a smuggler and, has to work with those colorful characters.
So, what I'm kind of curious about is there's a issue of Star Wars comic book that came out that revealed that Han Solo actually had a wife.
We talked about that.
Yeah. Would you be interested in them touching on that in this Han Solo movie?
I don't think so, because I feel like then that also kind of would destroy some of the mystery around Han Solo.
They said that in this movie he's going to be in his upper teens and low 20s.
Yeah.
Is what Han Solo's age will be in this anthology movie.
But I mean, maybe like you have like a reference to it or something like that, but like to actually show, again, like showing Han Solo as the husband, the husbandly figure. Like,
I don't think it'd be portrayed in that way. I think what would happen is, like, I don't know, somehow he got into a circumstance where some systems, ritual is if you do this, you marry this, like, or whatever. Like, it'd be interesting to do it in a comical way of like him trying to get out of the situation to where he just like leaves the woman behind, because that would be Han Solo's character. He's kind of a dick. Yeah. So that would be interesting to me if they did it that way. But I agree. I don't want to see him be like a husband, like, sitting in a chair drinking a beer.
You don't want the Han Solo movie to be a rom-com.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing, like, because there are a lot of people that have come out and saying like they're not fans of these anthology movies and specifically a Han Solo movie.
I think it's because they're concerned about an origin story being told.
But it's also, what if essentially we're calling this a Han Solo movie because Han Solo is the character that is introducing us to other characters. Yeah, so like, something like an Admiral Thrawn, or another character like that could be of significance later on.
I think that's a great way to introduce other characters, is to use these anthology movies to do that.
You see Han Solo.
Yeah,
you're a lot more likely to go see it than instead like Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think these anthology movies do definitely open up the door to introduce us to new characters and broaden the universe, because a lot of people do have a complaint that with these Star Wars movies,
they're shrinking the universe.
Yeah, you have hundreds and hundreds of years of stories to tell, and yet you keep it on this one thread of stories. And I think that, you do have the option to open up the Star Wars universe while using characters that are household names like Han Solo, and so they could definitely do that with this movie. But also, you want to talk about where she says event or events that happen that kind of make Han Solo like who we know him to be. That also could hint at the fact that maybe in this movie it will show us an event that gives us a little bit more perspective on something that happened in this movie per se. Yeah. So I think that would be super interesting. Like you said, maybe like how he gets involved with Jabba the Hutt. I think that'd be interesting to see.
Because you get introduced to all of those other bounty hunters where we just saw them for a couple frames.
Yeah, and also, they basically said that the Han Solo movie was supposed to be Boba Fett anthology movie that was supposed to be directed by Josh Trank, and then all that stuff just fell apart, and so now it is Han Solo, which I think...
But it's going to be Han Solo and the Band of Smugglers.
Lawrence Kasdan did say that he's been working on a Han Solo movie way before they even brought him on to work on The Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're rushing the Han Solo movie because they have been working on it for a while.
They may have moved it from the third anthology movie to the second one.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, so I love the comments that Kathleen Kennedy had to say about this Han Solo movie. This Han Solo movie. Yeah? Huh? Oh. But anyways, guys, there was another Disney subset that was at D23, and of course, yes, we are talking about Marvel, and Kevin Feige came out onto the floor, and Kevin Feige is almost like a rock star now. He walks onto the stage and people are just so excited to see him because they know that he has something to share and gets the fans excited. So he started off with Doctor Strange, and he explained that Doctor Strange has been in development basically since the conception of the MCU. It's one of his favorite characters. He's said that multiple times. And even though there haven't been, and they basically showed a lot of concept art that has some test footage,
and like animatics, which are kind of like animated storyboards.
Yeah, with there was somebody narrating them. I can't remember who they said was narrating them, but there's somebody who narrated it. Oh, it was the director. It was Scott Derrickson. Yeah, Scott Derrickson narrated these animated parts,
sequences.
Yeah, and none of that stuff has been released to us. There have been like descriptions, so I can read the Doctor Strange one real quick because it's pretty short. It says we see Doctor Strange, Strange being monitored by S.H.I.E.L.D. And it says it looks like we're going to have some different strange costume variations, lots of weird astral plane stuff with the cosmic bent. We see planets and lights, and there are city scenes with cars being suspended in the air. The city itself looks like it's twisting in on itself, kind of like Inception. So like in Inception when like the like city like goes up like that kind of thing. That'd be super interesting to see. He says we get a car crash that goes on a search for the... Oh, and he goes on a search for the Ancient One. The final shot is actually rendered test footage of a hand delivering a blast of light. So I'm guessing that's some type of magic that Doctor Strange is putting off with his hands.
Or the Ancient One.
Or, yeah, it could be anybody. But I think it's magic that's being portrayed by somebody's hands. So we haven't had any physical, like, concept art, released.
Yes, I have not found anything.
Which is sad to me because I want to see what Benedict Cumberbatch looks like as the Ancient One. They had some concept art of Baron Mordo as well, but they said Doctor Strange had the classic costume from the comics. There's like a lot of red in there, so I can't wait to see
like the high cape and stuff like that.
So I'm super excited to see when they will release that. Hopefully it's sometime this year. I don't know when they would. I mean, they don't really have to. There's no more Marvel movies coming out until Civil War, so they could hold off till then, and then like at the end have like a post-credit scene for Doctor Strange. But just give me something, Marvel, please.
And they're also a couple months away from beginning filming on Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So what do you think about Doctor Strange quickly?
I mean, everything, like I said, it sounds like kind of like the test footage and that they kind of showed for like Ant-Man and Deadpool, like stuff like that.
Yep.
Maybe not as finished as those two were, but
yeah,
it's all seemed like proof of concept kind of things.
They definitely want to bring something to D23 because Disney's been trying to make D23 the place to be for fans of these properties. Yeah. So they definitely want to bring something that would get the fans interested in. And Benedict Cumberbatch had a message at the beginning, saying that he's sorry that he couldn't be there. He's working on something like a play.
Film or play in London.
Yeah, so he wasn't able to be there, but he said he's super excited to play Doctor Strange, and he said it's going to be a lot of really cool visuals. So it was great to that he was able to do that for the fans. But yeah, not a lot of stuff that we can actually put up on screen for you guys to see. But we will put the link in the description so you can check out these descriptions yourself of the stuff, and that way you got your imagination going. But also, they wanted to touch on Civil War, which is kind of a given because they weren't at Comic-Con this year. Marvel was not for their movies. And so they showed what to me seems like a teaser trailer. Now, I'm not going to read this whole entire description of the teaser trailer because it's kind of long, but like I said, it'll be in the description.
The video was like close to like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, so you guys can check that out on the article link that we will have in the description. But just a brief overview: you see Falcon, you see Cap, you see a lot of characters, and it sets up this difference of opinions between Captain America and Iron Man. Iron Man says, if we don't have any limitations, then we're just as bad as the bad guys, basically. And so it's super interesting to read this. And what are your thoughts on like this?
I love the bit in the description at the end between Ant-Man meeting Captain America.
Oh, I know.
That was so, like, even in text, that was so funny.
I feel like I think this movie will be Civil War, will be very serious, but I think you're going to get certain humor elements from certain characters, and I think Scott Lang will definitely be one of those characters to give you some humor in here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was great because he's just like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you, or whatever, and he's getting his... He's getting his words mixed up. He's like, "Thanks for thinking of me," and then he's like, "I mean, thank you for thinking of me," or whatever. That's super.
I'm
funny.
Shaking your hand too long, aren't I?
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. Like, because that would be how I would react if I got to work with Captain America. I'd be like, "Oh my god, what's up, man?" How you doing? Like, so it gives us kind of like an in to the situation.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like Scott Lang will be the audience participant.
Yeah. So that was super funny.
The other thing, I don't know, because again, we need to actually get to watch it because we're not in Anaheim, obviously.
I want to watch it so I can kind of get the tone of it.
Yeah, because also, too, it seemed weird, because they're showing a funeral scene, and then Tony Stark makes his comment about, we need limitations, otherwise we're not any better than the bad guys.
Exactly.
But, if it's the funeral we all think it is, you would think it would be worded it would be phrased the other way around, that it would be Captain America saying those things.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Like, obviously, Captain America is going to be on the side of freedom and all that stuff. But it's weird that he would be against the government because he is Captain America. But in the Winter Soldier, it kind of sets up why he would be against the government. So, like I said, I really want to see this teaser trailer soon, Marvel, because I want to see the tone of this. Obviously, they're going to release it sometime this year. It's just a matter of when. Because Marvel doesn't have any other movies coming out this year, so I'm kind of curious.
Do you think it comes out before Star Wars?
I would think that the teaser trailer would come out before Star Wars, and then they would release a full trailer with Star Wars. That would be how I would do it if I happen to be a marketing major at a university, but. Maybe I am. No, but so Civil War is super interesting. Let us know what you guys think about this description. Are you excited for Civil War? Are you not excited for Civil War? Do you have any trepidations about it? Do you think there's too many characters? I personally don't. I think that it's all about the way that they handle the characters. I think more characters will have more of a speaking role than others. I think there will be some that are just there for brawling and stuff like that. So I'm not really too worried about it.
The only thing that gives me a little pause reading that description was there are a few set photos that came out with this as well in the story, and they have a couple photos of Black Panther.
Yeah,
but in the description of the video, Black Panther's not mentioned at all. Yeah, and he's supposed to be the main kind of pivot point between the two sides. I think
Black Panther will have a big role in this movie. I think he will be the neutral side, so we'll see. We'll see three sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Which I know it doesn't make sense because there's only two sides to the coin, but we'll see three sides of a coin. Trust me. One being Iron Man's side, one being Captain America's, and one being Black Panther's. But then, what also interests me about this is, there's been. I know last week we covered a rumor about who was going to be on whose side of the argument, who's going to be on Captain America's side and who's going to be on Iron Man's side. It's interesting to me to see who double crosses who for this movie. Who goes from Iron Man's side to Captain America's side and vice versa. That's going to be super interesting to me. And I think that Marvel knows that going into this movie. So I think they're going to throw some curveballs at us because they know that people who have read the comic storyline for Civil War know that people have jumped ship and gone to the other side. So I think they're going to try to twist it a little bit to make us think that's going to be somebody, and it's going to be somebody else.
Yeah,
that'd be super interesting to see.
But the only thing is you kind of want to see what kind of character, bring up Black Panther. Do you want to I wonder is he a reluctant fighter in this battle? Is he fierce fierce proponent of one side or the other? Here's a
rumor that I've heard, and this could be totally off the mark, so don't take this with a grain of salt because this is a rumor. But I heard that Black Panther will be hunting down the Winter Soldier, right? I heard that probably about half a year ago, and about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I heard that Black Panther's father, T'Challa, I think T'Chaka is the father of T'Challa. Yeah. That's right. T'Chaka gets killed in this movie, and they are saying that it's an assassination by none other than the Winter Soldier. So that would make perfect sense of why Black Panther is hunting down the Winter Soldier if he assassinated his father.
Yeah.
So that's all rumor and speculation at this point. That could be totally wrong, but if that is a story thread in this movie, super interesting. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our main news topics of this week. Now we're going to go ahead and get into some quick hits. And starting off, we have at D23...
the rest of live-action Disney.
Johnny Depp showed up and announced Pirates 5, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And footage was shown, and also Orlando Bloom and Geoffrey Rush are returning for this movie. Super excited for that. I love Orlando Bloom's character in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
I think that was the big reason why the 4 wasn't as good. There wasn't the other polar end of
Johnny Depp's character. Yeah.
Whereas I think Orlando Bloom is that kind of anchor at the other end.
What's funny is I've actually enjoyed all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I'm not afraid to say that I've enjoyed all of them. And actually, I've been craving to watch the first one again.
First one's the best.
I need to watch it again. I've been craving it for a while now. So I will probably watch that sometime within the next week. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Orlando Bloom and Geoffrey Rush returning, but also Dead Man Tells No Tales and Johnny Depp?
As I said, Johnny Depp came out as his normal, or as his almost as his Captain Jack persona.
Yeah,
he was very he had all those quips and other stuff like that. He showed the footage along with the title card, the title logo. That's and they announced Orlando Bloom, Geoffrey Rush, Javier Bardem is going to be in it as well.
Yeah,
the villain from Skyfall.
Oh, he's going to be in it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
that's so awesome. That's so
also, I don't know if they announced it already, but we have a specific date of July 7th of 2017.
Awesome.
So, I knew it was it was summer 2017, but...
There are so many movies coming out in 2017. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so, it felt like a good launching point for that movie.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to kind of be a reboot of the Pirates movie. I wonder if this is going to be like Johnny Depp handing it down to a new, a younger characters. You know what I mean? Maybe, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
It's just
the reason why I bring that up. A brief synopsis, basically saying that, a previous pirate gang, which is commanded by Javier Bardem, breaks free of the Devil's Triangle.
Yeah.
Basically hell-bent on revenge on every pirate.
Yeah. And
Johnny Depp and Jack have to get Poseidon's trident to stop them.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
So that, if I remember, I said I didn't write that in notes, but I believe that was the plot synopsis.
Yeah, and the reason why I brought that up about the kind of handing the torch down or whatever is because a lot of movies seem to be doing that. And Johnny Depp, he's not getting any younger, and I know Orlando Bloom's not going to stick around. This might be Orlando Bloom's final movie that he does with Pirates of the Caribbean. So it would make sense if they at least ended it in a way where they could, if they wanted to, take younger characters and or have them star in their Pirates movies,
or even reboot it altogether. It's there's really no way you match Johnny Depp's portrayal of Captain Jack.
Yeah, and speaking of Javier Bardem, Spectre, we're talking about James Bond now. Spectre will be a quote-unquote original story. Sam Mendes, the director of James Bond Spectre, said that basically at the end of Skyfall, the James Bond universe has been rebooted because now they have a new M, they have a new Q.
New MI6 in general.
Yeah, so basically the quote that he has here, this is only the beginning of the story. The Bond creation myth has never happened. I felt that there was an opportunity there. What made him and who were the people who affected him along the way? You're sort of telling the story backwards of how Bond became Bond. So, this brings up the question, is this a good idea? And we mentioned earlier about people don't want the shadows being taken away from Boba Fett and Han Solo. So is that something that will affect this Bond movie? Do you want to see how Bond became Bond?
Because it kind of got hinted at with the ending of Skyfall, because that was the ranch that he grew up as a kid.
Yeah.
But it's kind of I've heard also multiple people and the theory of James Bond and 007 are just titles.
Yeah.
So, just how, M is replaced, Q's replaced, that would explain why, we've had Bond since the 60s, yet, it's still James Bond.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of nice to have that clarified once and for all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does kind of feel if you really go that deep into it, the character kind of loses his some of the
mysteriousness. Yeah, and I think I kind of always felt like the Bond movies were all the same person, and it was just adventures that this same Bond person had been on in his lifetime, and that we're just getting, what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't necessarily want to see. I'm so kind of conflicted about this. But what I will say about Spectre is that I think that Daniel Craig, in my opinion, and you guys could completely disagree with me, but in my opinion, Daniel Craig has been the best Bond that we have ever had. Obviously, you can say that, Casino Royale was good. Skyfall was great. The one Quantum of Solace people didn't like so much. But I feel like
but all the Bonds
has encompassed the character. I feel like no other person has. Not only is he suave, but he's also the kind of guy that you can believe can do all these physical things.
I was about to say, he seems like the most believable Bond.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you see, like, you saw Sean Connery, like, he was probably the most suave, gentleman, spy that they've had.
Yeah.
But yet some of the times in the action sequences kind of is like, really?
Yeah.
And then, you've kind of had, like, the opposite, like, Timothy Dalton, which wasn't very suave at all, but you feel like he would actually do well in those action scenarios.
Yeah, and I feel like Daniel Craig is the kind of person who's in between them both. He is suave and charming, but he's also very dangerous with a gun. You know what I mean? So I have no faith that Spectre will be a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this to come out. It comes out this fall, right?
Yes, it'll be November. I believe it's November.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Beginning of November.
So I'm excited to see Spectre, and this might be Daniel Craig's last Bond movie. So I'm sure he doesn't want to go out on a bad note. So I have complete faith,
especially with Sam Mendes back.
Yeah, I have complete faith in this movie. So moving on to our next quick hit. Winona Ryder has confirmed that Beetlejuice 2 is happening. Tim Burton will direct, and Michael Keaton will return as Beetlejuice. What are your thoughts, quickly?
I'm excited, yet strangely nervous at the same time. Like, Beetlejuice itself, like, is very much a product of the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it translates 20 plus years later.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about this. There's a few movies that are kind of just better left without being touched. Back to the Future, the guys who've created that just basically said that while they're still alive, that will never be rebooted or remade. Beetlejuice, I feel like it worked in the time that it was made. I'm not sure if it would work now. But I will say this. If you have Tim Burton coming back to direct it, you have Michael Keaton coming back to be Beetlejuice, and if Winona Ryder returns, I think that they're taking the right steps to make it successful because you're bringing all the originals back. But at the same time, I'm just not sure if
that premise still works.
Yeah.
20 plus years or 30 plus years.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I'll keep an open mind. I'm just not that excited to hear about this. Now we got some news. I'm not sure if this is for the guys or for the girls. I'm not sure. We got Baywatch coming out apparently, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson
is already confirmed lead actor, producer on it.
Yeah, and Zac Efron has joined this movie. Now, what I'm wanting to understand is this going to be a comedy like The Neighbors with Seth Rogen and Zac Efron, or is this going to be obviously it would have to be a comedy, right? Who is
in that article, Zac Efron also said it's going to be a raunchy comedy.
Okay, so it's going to be something along the lines of Neighbors, but in Baywatch form. And also,
I'm thinking more like 22 Jump Street.
Seth Gordon, who is the director of Horrible Bosses 1, has also been announced to direct this movie. So, this could be a super funny movie with Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron. Have they been in a movie together so far? I don't think they have.
I don't know, but like I said, Dwayne Johnson's done well in comedies. Zac Efron's done well in straight comedies.
Yeah.
So it's the two of them together is...
Zac Efron has really made a name for himself since the High School Musical days. Everybody used to make fun of him and not take him seriously, but now he gets into these comedic roles and they really work and people really enjoy him. So
he's got that comedic timing down.
So it's one of those things where it sounds like a strange concept, but at the same time I'm kind of interested to see where they go with it because it really could be really funny. All right, so next we have Patrick Stewart will appear in Wolverine 3, the final Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie, as Professor X, and says that it will be a different type of Professor X than we have ever seen before. So what does that mean?
What kind of Professor X could we get that we haven't? You know what I mean? Patrick Stewart walking.
evil Professor X. Like, I don't know. I mean,
it will be more than just a cameo as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a actual like supporting role in this movie. But yeah, that just confused me because Patrick Stewart says it's going to be a different Professor X than we've ever seen. And we've seen Professor X walking. We've seen James McAvoy walk, like, as Professor X.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can think of is, like, if it's an evil Professor X, like a alternate dimension movie. Like, if, like, you know, they have...
I mean, also, the Wolverine 3 is rumored to be the Old Man Logan story.
Well...
Like, it's...
I think Hugh Jackman said that as a joke, saying that, like, he's getting
also
old.
Patrick Stewart said the same thing, too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't believe he actually referenced that specifically, but...
Yeah.
He said he's going to be an older Wolverine. It's going to be...
I think what they will do is they will take certain story points from Old Man Logan. They will put some different characters in it, which will mean that the story will change a little bit. But I think they're going to use a lot of those character points because a lot of people do want to see Old Man Logan, but also Hugh Jackman on social media, like, he asked fans what they want to see out of this last Wolverine movie, and I know one of the main things that I saw people saying were, we want to see you in the Wolverine suit, please, just once. I don't care if it looks silly. You can put the hood on and be like, well, this looks like crap, and then like tear it off. I don't care. We just want to see it. I want to see it at least. And then lastly of our quick hits, we have Ronda Rousey is basically becoming Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson was, he for the longest time he was just like, I want to be Green Lantern, I want to be Jon Stewart or whatever. Well, now Ronda Rousey's like, I want to be Captain Marvel. I don't really want to see her as Captain Marvel. I'm going to be quite honest. Obviously, yes, she has the physical attributes. She could kick some serious ass. But the question is, can she act worth a damn?
So far, at least the answer's
no. She can't. Yeah. She was the one that was in Fast and Furious, right? Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I completely agree. And also, like, sure, she can throw a punch at it, but you don't actually land punches in a movie.
And I think if Marvel, because Marvel has Captain Marvel standalone movie.
Yeah.
She is going to be the first female-led superhero movie that Marvel has put out. They are going to want to get acting talent for this role. They don't want to just throw somebody who can't act into the role. Ronda Rousey, I don't mean to offend you. Don't kick my ass. But you can't act. I'm sorry. It won't happen. I don't even want to see Charlize Theron in the movie as Captain Marvel, but I would much rather have her than Ronda Rousey. And my issue with Charlize Theron is that she's getting, I think, too old. I feel like Captain Marvel needs to be a younger character because you have older actors like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, all those guys, getting out of their contracts. You want to get a younger actor/character who can be in this universe for years to come. Not as young as what they've gone with Spider-Man, obviously, but I would say in their 20s is what I would think.
Yeah, and you kind of look at you want almost like a Daisy Ridley type, you know, something like that, kind of that early mid-20s,
Taylor Swift. I'm joking. Don't kill me. I'm joking. No, but people were I don't know. There was something where Taylor Swift took a picture with the cast of X-Men Apocalypse, and people were like, "Oh, she's gonna be a character in the movie," and we're like, "No, she just had a concert. The guy was a fan or whatever, and just showed up because he can do that."
Yeah.
But so I don't know. I just thought it was funny. No, but there are plenty of young actresses that would be great as Captain Marvel. I think that Captain Marvel. I've read one of Captain Marvel's books, one of the newer books that came out before they started the Secret Wars storyline. But to me, that book told me that it is for teenage girls, and I think that Captain Marvel is to be a icon for girls to look up to, kind of like Wonder Woman has been in DC for so long. So I think that they will have to get somebody who can play Captain Marvel and who can relate to those to that demographic. Alright guys, so we got one question this week from C. He's an avid listener, watcher, and commenter and question asker, so thank you, C, for your questions. But he says, I've been reading Kanan the Last Padawan and I've really enjoyed it. My question is, do you think that he or any of the Rebels characters are going to be in Rogue One or any of the Star Wars movies? And seeing that Rogue One is happening during the same timeline as Rebels, it makes a lot of sense for them to appear in it. As always, thanks and keep up the good work. And he said, Greg, do you think the anthology films...
That myself, so.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That was me.
You're confusing me. I'm reading the stuff, Greg.
So I put in parentheses.
Yeah, he says thanks and keep up the good work. All right, see you. Well, thank you for your question. I think it's definitely a possibility for characters from Star Wars Rebels popping up in Rogue One. There's been a couple actors that have been added to the cast that people have had rumors saying that, this person could be this specific general that we saw at the beginning of Star Wars Rebels or whatever. I think that they could do it. I think they would have to. They'd have to do it very carefully, though, because you don't want to do it in a way that confuses people who see the movie who haven't seen the show. Because what we do know is that more people will see the movie than have seen the show, right? Star Wars Rebels is a quote-unquote kids show that is on a Disney
XD.
Yeah, Disney XD, which is
Disney's
watched,
animated channel.
Yeah, is watched mostly by kids. Obviously, there are Star Wars fans who watch that as well, but not the audience for Rogue One will not just be Star Wars fans. It will be the general movie public, people who do like Star Wars but aren't avid fans enough to go and watch, a animated TV series on television. So I think they can do it. I think it is very that they'd have to do it very carefully, but I do think it's possible. As far as Kanan the Last Padawan, I think it's very possible for him to show up in a movie somewhere. I think that him being in a comic series doesn't take out the ability for them to put him in a movie, because the comics are kind of, at least from what I understand of what Star Wars is doing with their comics, is that they're giving backstory with the comics to characters that are in movies already. Yeah. So I don't see, if they have a comic with this character, I don't see why not. Why not they?
And also, it could also be like you have, all like the rumors and theories that are saying that Darth Vader will be in Rogue One.
God, I hope so.
And so again, like, what if it is? Kanan basically sacrifices himself in a way so they can steal the Death Star plans.
Oh, is that his storyline?
I don't know. Like, is that the storyline's not finished? So like the comics about, so I don't know. Yeah. But I could just see it. That's an easy way to throw in a Jedi. Yeah. And then that is expendable.
I'm wondering. I don't know the storyline for Kanan the Last Padawan because I haven't got in on the Star Wars comics that much. But like I said, I do feel like, depending on, what you get from the storyline and where his character is placed throughout the timeline of Star Wars that we have right now, I think it is possible for them to put any of the characters in their comics or their TV series or whatever.
I believe the Rebels show is basically set, like, at least as like it's like 3 years before the start of A New Hope.
Yeah, so those characters could definitely show up in Rogue One. I just think that'd be super interesting. But like I said, you have to be careful because you have to, you're taking a character that has been, as an animated TV show, and then you have to try to bring that character to life on the big screen and live action. So obviously there's some hurdles there to get over.
Basically, you have to explain what this Jedi is still doing when we're under the assumption everybody except for Yoda and Obi-Wan are dead.
Yes,
there are stories that say there are Jedi that do survive, but for the mainstream public.
Another way that they could, do this whole thing about Star Wars Rebels is, you could introduce a character into Rogue One, and they could be like, oh well, what are your qualifications or whatever, and he could be like, oh, I was with this, this group back when, and we actually came in contact with Darth Vader a couple times, because they have come in contact with Darth Vader in the Rebels series, and that would automatically lend credibility to that person and their ability to hold their own in a mission such as stealing the planet to the Death Star. Yeah. So that's going. I mean, that's the only.
It's definitely, to answer your question succinctly. See, yes, it is possible, but there are just still way too many unknowns about Rogue One that we would be speculating just as much as you are.
Yeah, and the people in charge of Rogue One have been asked this question before, and they have said that we are very aware that Rogue One takes place around the same time as Star Wars Rebels. So they are very aware that Star Wars Rebels characters are in the same universe. And, you know, does that mean that they're going to be in it? We can't say, but, you know, from that quote alone, it definitely says that they're open to the possibility of doing it.
They at least thought about it.
Yeah. It has been on their minds. So that's super interesting to me. C, thank you for your question. As always, man, you got some good questions for us to really get in on in these topics. So, yeah, thank you as always. And guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Movieverse Movie News episode 12. Like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure you're subscribed to our channel so we hit 1,000 subscribers and we do that live stream. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Movieverse with the number 2 so you guys can keep up to date on all of our updates leading up to our live stream happening next Sunday. As well as, you know, we make sure that we post all of our videos on Twitter, so you know, I'll try to interact with you guys. You can ask us questions on Twitter, whatever. I will be on Twitter to answer any of your questions and interact with you guys as much as possible. And remember to send your questions into movieverseonline@gmail.com so we can answer them on this show. My name is Brian, and that is Greg. And until next time, guys, catch you later.